and we are going to start. So today we're going to need 2 blocks and a blanket, and we're going to do a line and hold. And Sandy has requested that we do the 3-minute version because we haven't done it this year. So he's quite happy about this. I'm not sure how the rest of us are feeling, but hopefully it'll be okay. So as per usual, the first 3 minutes are spent doing whatever you need to do to mentally, physically, energetically prepare for this. So I encourage you to possibly do some twists or some lunges, to maybe do some cats and cows to feel into your body and figure out what feels like you might be needing or what might be needed in order to start this little endeavor we're about to journey on. And I'll let you know when it's time for us to move on to our next thing. And again, just per usual, as you're doing this, you're just checking in and you're feeling how your body feels. You're noticing where there might be tightness, where there might be a little bit of lethargy, where there might be a lot of energy and excitement. You're starting to waken up or awaken to how the body is breathing. Yeah. And just being with your body, being with your breath. Got about another 1.5 minutes. So if there's anything else that you think you might want to try, it might be a good time to start to switch to that. This is fun for me to watch. Like over the years, each one of you does something very different than what you might have done a few years ago in terms of preparing for this. We've got about another 30 seconds or so. So any last few minute things, go ahead and start to explore those. And then when you feel ready, we're going to make our way to our hands and knees. And for today, we're going to start with child's pose, but if you'd like to have your elbows on blocks, you do have the option to bring your elbows to the blocks. Otherwise, you'll bring your sit bones to your heels. You'll walk your hands forward on the mat and then allow your head to descend towards the floor. If your elbows are on your blocks, you might walk your elbows forward just a little bit, press the palms towards each other, and allow your head to descend towards the floor. And per usual, the first thing that we're doing is allowing ourselves to come into this shape. And so you'll notice what it feels like to really find the weight of your shin bones, the tops of your feet into the floor, especially if you notice that the tops of your feet were bothering you earlier. Just keep an eye on that as we're here. If your elbows are on the blocks and they're bent, you might notice what it feels like to really allow the weight of the elbows to rest into your blocks. If your arms are straight along the floor, notice what it feels like, whether the elbows are slightly bent or if they are straight, to keep lifting your armpits away from the floor as your chest melts towards the floor. And then, of course, you'll start to pay attention. How is the breath? Can you take in a deeper inhalation? Can you let go of a deeper exhalation? As you continue to take deeper breaths in and let go of deeper breaths out, can you notice a general feel, the general quality of your breath? Is the inhalation smooth from beginning to end, or does it jump somewhere? Is the exhalation smooth from beginning to end, or does it jump somewhere? And you just continue to notice the breath. You continue to notice the weight of the body pressing into the floor. And then if you have not already, start to tone the back of your throat and invite in your Ujjayi pranayama. This pose, this shape, will be one that you can return to at any point in time if you find that any of the subsequent shapes become a bit too much. And when we do come to any of the shapes that we are in, our task is always first and foremost to find stability in the shape. Second, to find stillness, even including eye movement. And then third, to concentrate on deepening our relationship with our breath. As you're ready, you'll inhale and come forward to hands and knees tabletop position. Walk your hands forward a couple of inches. Make sure your hands are shoulder distance apart. Curl all 10 toes under. Drop your belly, drop your gaze. Inhale here. And then exhale, start to press your pelvis up to where the wall and the ceiling meet towards a downward facing dog. As you're coming towards this downward facing dog, again, we're going to press the L shape of our hands down and forward. We're going to see if we can send the inner thighs back and apart as you lift the outer hips up. And then notice if it feels like you can continue to lift your armpits up and away from the floor as you press the hands down and forward. Some of you will keep your knees bent just as they are. Some of you might begin to reach your heels back towards the floor and maybe even down towards the floor. And then we've got the stability. Let's go ahead and come to stillness. Noticing if there's any part of you that wants to fidget, and see if you can instead breathe. And just continue to focus on the breath. Noticing how the breath is working right now. Notice maybe where there's heat in the body. Whenever you feel like you'd like to fidget, see if you can just notice that desire to move and instead focus on your breath. Notice the breath entering the body and notice the breath leaving the body. Can you even out your breath so that there are no jumps or bumps, but everything just feels smooth and everything feels consistent? And again, at any time, if it comes to be too much, child's pose is your friend. You've got 2 more breath cycles here. At the end of this next exhalation, bend your knees and start to walk your feet towards the top of your space. When you get towards the top of your space, separate your feet hip distance apart. Go ahead and grab your block and slide it between your shin bone on its first or second setting. And then you might use the other block underneath your hands if you feel like the floor is too far away. And then once you're here, make sure the weight is equally spread on the feet, so front to back and right to left. Lightly hug that block with your inner shins. Notice if your knees want to be bent or if they feel like they can straighten here. Make sure the hips are pretty much over your heels. And then notice if you can let the head be a little heavier. If you can relax the tension around your jaw. And then notice how the breath is. Calm, steady, smooth, deep breaths in. Calm, steady, smooth, deep breaths out. Notice where your gaze is. Are your eyes open? Are they closed? And your gaze, your drishti, be very focused as well. You've got 3 more breath cycles here. At the end of this next exhalation, you'll inhale, slide your shins or your hands up your shins and come to halfway lift. We're going to pause here again. You're going to press down through your feet. Hug your block with your outer or inner shins. Draw your outer shins straight back. And then see if you can reach your pubic bone back behind you. That might require that you bend your knees a little bit. And then reach your sternum forward. And then your head comes straight out of your spine like happy little turtles. And then notice what's happening with your breath. Calm, steady, smooth breath. Shoulders away from your ears. Where's your gaze? Is it steady? How's your breath? Is it consistent? Heart continues to come forward. There we go. Your last 3 breath cycles here. Okay. At the end of your next exhalation, go ahead and bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, bend your knees and lift your chest up for Utkatasana. Option to keep your hands right here or reach your arms forward. You might also reach your arms alongside your ears. But we're going to continue to squeeze our block for dear life. Bend our knees as much as we can. And then find a steady spot in front of you for your gaze, for your drishti. Once you've got all of that established, I want you to see if you can even out your breath. How's your breath doing? Focus on the breath. Is the inhale one long, seamless breath? Is the exhale one long, seamless breath? Or does it feel like it jumps? Does the inhale and the exhale feel like they're of equivalent quality, of equivalent length? Continue to focus just on the breath, even as the sensations in the legs build, even as heat builds in the body, continue to stay on your breath. See if you can bend your knees just a little more. You've got 4 more breath cycles here. The end of your next exhalation, you'll inhale and stand up. As you exhale, lower your hands alongside your hips for Tadasana. And just see if you can be still for 1 minute. Noticing if you need to bend the knees just a little bit so we don't hyperextend the legs. Continue to root down through the soles of the feet. And again, heart remains open, gaze remains steady. And then just notice, how's the breath working? Where do you feel it now? Calm, steady, smooth breath. All right, let's go ahead and look down and move our block. Plant one block to the top of your space and another block to the back of your space. Probably put the block on their highest setting. And then turn to face the long edge of your mat so your blocks are probably behind you. Now from here, we're going to turn our right toes to face the short edge of our mat. Turn your left toes in just a little bit. Bend your right knee and bring your hands on your hips. Make sure your legs are far enough apart for you for this warrior two shape. And then once you feel like your legs are pretty established, you'll go ahead and open your arms out for Virabhadrasana 2. And again, you'll just take a moment to notice. Continue to bend into the right knee. Yep. Draw that outer right hip back as you press down on the pinky toe edge of your left foot. Find the lift from underneath your armpits for your arms. And then notice if the gaze can be centered over the center middle finger of the right hand. And you'll just take a moment to breathe there. You'll notice how this feels to be in this shape. Take 3 more breath cycles here. The end of your next exhalation, we'll bring our right hand down to the block, the floor, or the right forearm onto the right thigh. Extend your left arm alongside your ears and find extended side angle, Uttita Parsva Konasana. Again, press into the pinky toe edge of your back foot, that's your left foot. Draw your outer right hip straight back and then find a spot for your head. Yep. Reach out through your left fingers and see if you can keep the fingers together. And then notice if you can just focus on breathing along that left side body, finding a long line of energy from your fingertips all the way down through the shoulder, through the waist, through the hips, through the leg, through the foot. And you just pause and you breathe. And you notice what you notice as you're here. Long, steady, smooth breath. Notice when the desire to fidget comes up and see if you can remain still. See if you can deepen the breath instead. Notice if the chest wants to close down or if you can keep the heart open. And you've got about 5 more breath cycles here. For these last 5 breath cycles, see how fluid you can make the breath. See how full you can make the breath. At the end of your 5th exhalation, you'll inhale and return to warrior 2. As you exhale, you'll lower the arms, straighten the front leg, and turn both legs parallel to the short edge of your mat. And then just take a moment to pause here. Heart's lifted, feet are rooted, maybe slight bend in your knees. And then just notice what you notice. How's the breath working through the body? How are you feeling sensations in the body? It's very interesting. I think from a therapeutic standpoint, like therapists, at least a lot of somatic ones, focus on how much we can feel all the different things that are going on in us. To them, it's a sign of health. So just notice all the health that you're experiencing right now. And then as we're ready, we'll try the other side. So let's bring our hands to our hips, turn our left toes to face the short edge of our mat, spin our right toes in just a smidge, bend your left knee. And then once you feel like you've got a good width from right to left, you'll go ahead and open the arms out for Virabhadrasana 2. Take the gaze over your front middle finger, so your left hand. And then we want to imagine that as we're pushing down into the back right pinky toe and bending into the left knee, we're hugging those 2 points together. And then noticing if you can soften any tension around the shoulders and around the face. And you just pause and you breathe. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. Notice if there's any fidgeting and if you can instead channel that energy into the breath. And you've got 2 more breath cycles here. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll inhale and reach forward with the left hand, maybe lowering left forearm on top of left thigh or hand to block or floor. And then extend your right arm alongside your ears for Pitta Parsva Konasana. And then just as we did before, notice if you can press onto the pinky toe edge of your right foot. You can draw your outer left hip back and roll your left ribs forward so that you can stack your right ribs on top. Yep. Find a nice spot for your gaze and your head to rest. And then check in with your top arm. Make sure the right palm faces your floor, your face. Yep. And extend out through the fingers. And then you just pause and you breathe. You notice that you can breathe into your right side body because you have 2 lobes versus 3. Breath might feel a little bit more labored on this side. And if that's the case, that's okay. It's totally fine. It's anatomically probably what needs to be happening. And so you just breathe as best as you can. Keep your focus steady. Long, steady, smooth breaths. We've got 3 more breath cycles here. At the end of your third exhalation, you'll inhale and come back up for warrior two. And then exhale, straighten the front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. Lower your arms and just take a moment to be here. And as best as you can you keep the collarbones wide, the chest lifted, gaze lifted unless you feel dizzy. And then as best as you can, just notice if you can just really be still here. Sometimes it's hard for us to just stand. But how would you stand in your most proud, open, loving, generous way? And can you infuse that energetically into the shape? Awesome. All right, let's move on. Bring your hands to your hips. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. And then on your next exhale, we'll start to fold forward halfway. From here, you might lower your hands to the floor underneath your shoulders. Some of you might slide your hands down your legs, and some of you might grab a block and see if maybe the blocks would be helpful here. We'll find ourselves in Prasarita Padottanasana. And then with the legs still pretty parallel, you'll push down onto the pinky toe edges of your feet. You'll allow your head to descend to the floor as much as is comfortable for you. Lift up through your inner arches of your feet. And then just notice if you can breathe. Calm, steady, smooth breath. Really slight bend into your knees. There you go. You just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. Seeing if you can remain pretty still in the shape, using the energy that wants to fidget by channeling it into your breath. And as you do that, just start to observe what's energetically happening in the body, what's happening in your mind space. How's the breath? Is it smooth and consistent from inhale to exhale? Almost like it's a wave or a seamless circle. Does it have some little bumps, jumps, and jagged edges? Take your last 3 breath cycles here. Nice work. As you're ready, let's go ahead and inhale halfway. There we go. As you exhale, turn to face the top of your space and come into a low lunge. Pause here for a moment, step your front foot back. Some of you will stay in plank pose here. Some of you will lower your knees to the mat. Some of you will lower your forearms to the mat. You choose what option works best for you. But we'll make sure that we are going to go ahead and we're going to push the floor away. We'll try to find one long line from the crown of our head through our shoulders, through our hips, through our heels. So that line is roughly parallel to the floor. You'll notice if you can keep scooping your abdominal organs away from the floor. And you'll just notice if you can deepen your breath. If at any point in time you get tired, that's totally fine. You'll just lower all the way down onto your belly when you're done. We've got about another 5 breath cycles here. Make sure you still lift the back of your head. There we go. Long, smooth, steady breaths. At the end of your 5th exhalation, you'll lower onto your abdomen, onto the floor. Nice work. And then you'll just bring an ear to the mat and you'll rest and you'll see if you can feel what it feels like to feel your chest, to feel your heart in your chest, to feel the heart and the chest maybe pressing into the floor, to maybe feel the beating of the heart, the pulsing of the blood. Feel the rapidness of your breath. Switch ears if you haven't already. And you just pause and you breathe. All right, let's move on. Bring your forehead to the mat. Separate your feet about hip distance apart. Go ahead and press the tops of your toenails into the floor. Turn your palms to face the floor. Arms alongside our hips, or hands alongside our hips. And then walk your hands a couple of inches away from your pelvis, so out to the right and to the left. There we go. On your next in-breath, go ahead and shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back and lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders. Awesome. You might continue to push down into the tops of your fingertips, the tops of your toes, and then maybe press your pubic bone down as you scoop your belly button towards your chest. And then the more you squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back, the higher you can lift your chest. But you just pause here and you breathe. And you notice what this feels like. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what this feels like. And you pause and you breathe and you notice what this feels like. Got about another 4 breath cycles in this variation. And you just observe. How's the breath doing? How are you doing? It's very interesting. Like I say that often, but very much how your breath doing does influence how you're doing. Some of you will choose to stay right as you are. Some of you will reach so far back through your toes that your legs will reach up and away from the floor. So now we've just got our pubic bone pelvis touching the floor and our hands touching the floor. And we draw our shoulder blades more onto the back body and the heart lifts. And you just notice what this feels like as you lift the inner thighs up. Maybe lightly squeeze your glutes. And again, just notice what's happening in the breath. Long, steady, smooth breath. And some of you will choose to stay in this variation. Some of you will reach your hands so far back that they too float up off the floor. So now your head, your legs, and your chest are lifted for this last bit here. And again, you just pause and you breathe. The pubic bone is pressing down. You're scooping the navel towards your sternum. It just creates length in the back. You just pause and you breathe. We've got about 5 more steady breath cycles here. And you notice for these last 5 if maybe you can lift a little higher away from the floor. You notice if you can breathe a little bit deeper. You notice where you might be able to let go and relinquish. At the end of your 5th exhalation, you'll lower all the way down to the mat. And then again, you just pause and you breathe and you notice the sensations in the body. You notice your sense of um, vitality that's moving through you. Go ahead and switch whichever ear is on the mat. All right. This next one is your choice. You can either do dolphin or you can do downward facing dog. When you're ready, you'll make your way to hands and knees and then make your way to either dolphin or downward facing dog. And when you get to your shape, again, the first thing you do is you find the stability in the shape. The next thing that you do is you start to refine it just a little bit so you can stay there. And then you come to stillness, and then you breathe. And again, at any point, if it becomes too much, you make your way to child's pose. And you just stay there as long as you can and you breathe. You notice how the sensations build in the body. See if you can channel that energy into the breath. I think it's something to pay attention to, this question of how often there are sensations that we run from and how often we run towards them or how often we can redirect our experience, our perception, our narrative of them. You know, they have that whole adage that the feeling of fear physiologically is the same as the feeling of excitement, but how we interpret it impacts our experience of that sensation or of what may be evoking that sensation. We've got another 5 breaths here. So you just notice how you're doing. At the end of your next exhalation, we're going to make our way to either pigeon or figure 4. So you figure out which one you'd like to take. Pigeon, right leg will come forward. Figure 4, right shin will be on top. But you choose which one you'd like to take, pigeon or figure 4. And then you set yourselves up and you just notice what it feels like to be in the shape. And again, you find the shape and you see if you can come to a still spot and you breathe with the sensations that you're having. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. At the end of your third exhalation, you will find a neutral shape and then try the other side. So that might be downward facing dog, or if you're on your back, you might just extend both legs up towards the sky or put both feet on the floor, but you'll just take a moment to find a neutral shape. And then when you're ready, you'll try the other side. And as you come in on this side, you just observe, how is this side its own unique animal? See if you can deepen your breath. When we get into shapes like this, the breath becomes subtler in many ways. So see if you can still stay connected to it even as it becomes more subtle. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. At the end of your third exhalation, you'll make your way back to your symmetrical pose, whether that's your downward facing dog or just extending both legs up. From here, we'll all come to sit. So, however you need to make your way to a seated posture, come to a seated posture. You might sit on your blanket at this point. You might not. We'll then bend one or both knees, and you're going to cross your right leg to the outside edge of your left leg. Draw your right thigh into you with your left hand, and maybe bring your right hand out to the right and maybe a bit behind you as you rotate towards the right. Now, as you rotate, you'll want to make sure you're lifting up through your spine, emptying the belly on the right side, and rotating your left shoulder towards your right knee. And then find a spot for your gaze. And notice if you can just pay attention to the movement of your breath. The breath might be a lot quieter, even still. And just see if you can continue to stay connected with it. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. The end of your third exhalation, you'll inhale, turn your gaze back towards the center, unwrap your arms, and then just extend both legs long in front of you for a brief pause in Dandasana. And then we'll go ahead and we'll try the other side. So you'll probably bend both of your knees, bring your right shin ankle to the floor, cross your left thigh to the outside edge of your right thigh, and then wrap the right arm around your left shin. Left hand comes to the left, maybe slightly behind you. You'll inhale and lift up through the spine, and then you'll exhale and rotate your rib cage towards the left, drawing the right armpit towards the inner left thigh. And then notice where you can root your gaze. And then just start to notice what's happening with your breath. Stay connected with your breath. Notice all the parts of the body where it freely moves. And maybe all the parts of the body where it doesn't feel so welcome. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. The end of your third exhalation, you'll inhale and unwind the spine. Go ahead and extend both legs long in front of you for Dandasana. And then start to make your way onto your backs. Now, when you make your way onto your back, you'll first come into constructive rest pose. So go ahead and bend your knees. Plant your feet on the floor. Walk your feet outside of your hips. And then let your knees fall into each other. From there, wrap your arms around your torso. And then just let the weight of the arms rest into your chest. From here, just notice if you can relax the mouth, if you can relax any tension in the feet, the fingers. And then again, as always, just pay attention to the breath. What are you feeling in this moment? From here, walk your feet towards each other. Draw the soles of the feet to touch. Let your knees open out like a book. And then maybe reposition the hands so you have a hand on the heart and a hand on the belly, or both hands just off to the side. We're going to hang out for just a couple of minutes in this unsupported Supta Baddha Konasana. And you'll just notice what that feels like to be here. If you feel a pull across the inner thighs, the adductors, it doesn't feel so good to you, you can mitigate that by pressing into the soles of your feet. Additionally, if it feels not so good to you, you can use the support of your blocks. But otherwise, we'll just take a few moments to just breathe here. You just pause and you breathe. Take your last 3 breath cycles here. At the end of your third exhalation, please set yourself up for your final pose. You might just go straight to Shavasana. Some of you might want a supported Supta Baddha Konasana. You might want legs up the wall. Choose which option feels like it will work for you in order for you to really just drop in and become still. Okay. Once you're established in your final shape, I encourage you to fidget in any way that is needed for you to feel like you can become still. And once you've got your fidgets out, check in with the right side and the left side of the body and make sure they're both equally supported. And then from there, Just scan the body and let your attention rest wherever it feels like there's a spot asking for a little bit of love, a little bit of attention. There's no need to change that part of the body, just simply allow your awareness to be with it. And you'll notice that it changes of its own accord. We'll continue to be here with you for the next few moments, the next few breaths, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please stay here. When you are ready to move on, you'll allow small, gentle movement to enter into the physical form. And then you'll make your way over to your right side. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those on your right side will slowly press yourself up to a tall and comfortable seat. When you are vertical, I would encourage you to sit on something, a block or a blanket. If you need to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones, please do that. And then from there, you'll turn both palms to face the sky. On your left hand, tuck your index finger into the base of your thumb. Extend out through the other three fingers. Turn your left palm to face the thigh. On the right hand, tuck your middle and index finger towards the heel of your hand. Bring your right palm in front of your face. Rest the thumb on the right nostril, the pinky finger, the ring finger on the left nostril. Notice if you need to reposition that right hand so you can sit up tall through the spine. And then gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Close your right nostril and draw the breath in through your left. Top of your inhalation, you'll close your left nostril and exhale out through the right. When you need to, you'll draw the breath back in through your right nostril. Top of your inhalation, close your right nostril and exhale out through your left. That's one round. When you're ready, you'll draw the breath back in through your left nostril. Top of your inhalation, close your left nostril, exhale out through your right nostril. When you need to, draw the breath back in through your left nostril. Top of your inhalation, close your left nostril and exhale out through your right. That's 2 rounds. You'll continue on your own for 9 rounds. As you breathe in and out, see how smooth, how stable, how consistent you can make the in-breath. And then notice how smooth, how stable, and how consistent you can make the out-breath. Again, you'll continue for 9 rounds. There is no rush. You continue at your own breath pace. Once you've exhaled 9th time through your left nostril, you'll lower your right hand. Once you've lowered your right hand, just take a few moments to breathe. Again, notice any sensations that come up, any desire to fidget or move, and see if you can breathe with them. We'll complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Guide your hands to heart center Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and press your sternum into your thumbs. Soften your chin down towards your throat and then exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in through the nose. Audible exhale. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And then draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, the quiet within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, and that quiet within each of you. Namaste.